Morning, Rafael. Can you start by just kind of explaining the philosophy behind the deal that you did yesterday, and then go into a little bit more detail about how Dennis Schroder might play a role for you guys?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we've tried really hard to do since I've been here is to work with our players and communicate well to them. And so when Daniel Theis's role changed within the team, he was great. He was a great veteran, but obviously, he wants to play and he should play. He's a really good player. And as our team evolved, the fit with our scheme and the way we played wasn't perfect. So one of the discussions was we would look for ways to improve it. And so we had this trade deadline, and we were in constant communication with him. And he enjoyed the best years of his career in Boston. And and they very much obviously were very interested in bringing him back. And so then it just became a matter of making sure, we wanted to do it to help him, but we also wanted to find something that we ended up with at the end of the day where we thought we were improved too. And so we're able to find this deal and make it work. As it relates to Dennis, I think he's just a really good basketball player, and has been for years. And so, this is an opportunity for us to get to know him and him to get to know us. And I think, kind of the style of basketball we play is, we're depending upon how you measure it, we're either the fastest or one of the top 3 or 4 fastest teams in the NBA. And he's obviously electric, in the open court. And he's above average defender. And so, I think it's going to be a good fit, or I hope it's going to be a good fit. Again, both ways. And we're looking forward to, I've had a couple of good conversations with him already, but we're looking forward to seeing how it works out.
Mark Berman.
Hey, Rafael. Generally speaking, were you close to anything other than this, maybe more significant at the deadline, and just were able to push it over the finish line? Anything like that at all?
We had a ton of conversations, but close doesn't count in these things. So I don't think it makes sense to speculate as to whether or not we were close.
Ali Kampajani.
Hey, Rafael. You and Steven have publicly talked about how collaborative you are and how you both stay in communication with each other. And now with the trade deadline passing, wanted to ask, do you and Steven communicate about particular lineups or combinations you'd both like to see to get lineup data or film on?
I couldn't hear the last thing you said. I'm sorry.
I wanted to ask, do you and Steven communicate about particular...
No, I heard everything until I heard everything until the very end. I heard you said, do we communicate about lineups? And then I didn't hear the rest. I'm sorry.
Lineup data or film. I see what more about.
All right. I'm just going to end up lineups because for whatever reason, the rest is getting mixed. But we do collaborate. Lineups are an extraordinarily important part of what a coach does. So it's not that we don't communicate about those, but that's obviously his purview. I wouldn't tell Steven who to play. I mean, I wouldn't even try, and he wouldn't listen. So, but yes, we communicate about all of that stuff. And, maybe you're asking about lineup data or something like that. That we do have kind of a wealth of information that we provide. We can break down, and our front office team does. We can break it down in different ways. And Steven frequently asks, this is more, Jake and Eli than me, but I do help. He frequently asks, hey, what do the numbers say about this or that? Or I'm thinking about this. In the past, when we've gotten to it, maybe a little less, how effective has it been? Those types of things. We do try and be as collaborative as is possible.
Adam Spallin.
Hey, Rafael. With Eric and now Dennis on the team, do you feel like having them on the floor and giving them minutes, does that take away from the development of some of your younger guards?
No. I suppose you would like me to elaborate.
A little bit.
Yeah, no, I think Eric has been really, I think Eric's been extraordinarily helpful to the development of our guards. one thing is we don't play like two guards. We play a 5-out system, and so you need multiple perimeter players on the court, and multiple ball handlers on the court. And one of the things that is hard about playing 4 young guys or 5 young guys at the same time is like making reads as a young player in the NBA is really difficult. And so if you've got 10, 15 years of experience, it's not difficult. And so when a player does make a really good play, you want their teammates to be in a position to either allow that player to finish the play. In other words, you don't want somebody to make a great drive only to have a teammate cutting into them. Or if they make a great drive and the defense rotates, you want somebody to be in the right spot so that they can make the right read, the right kick out pass, those things. So, so one of our thoughts coming into this year was that Eric Gordon could be very, very useful to our younger players in helping make sure that successes were successful. You want to build upon success. You don't want it to be like extraordinarily rare. And to date, I think that's really been the case. I do think I think we've seen real improvement and real growth in our young players. And B, I think Eric has been an important part of that. And for large stretches of the year, we also played DJ Augustin. And I think DJ was helpful in that respect too. And so my hope, we'll have to see how he's integrated, but my hope is that Dennis, is helpful in the same way. But Dennis is also not by any means like an over the hill veteran. And so, nor is Eric. Eric's playing maybe the best basketball of his career. So the other thing is that they're both, we think, helping these guys develop and players we're interested in. So, from my perspective, yeah, there's a multitude of things we like.
Ben DeBose. Ben?
Sorry, I'm struggling to unmute myself. So when we talk about the young guards, one guy that hasn't come up yet is Daishen Nix. And I know there's some people that wonder how he might fit in when you add a veteran like Schroder. Steven said before the game yesterday that you had just raved about Nix to him of late and what he's shown you in the G League. Is there potentially a plan to get him some reps at the NBA level before the end of this season?
So he's playing great. I'm actually going to go grab, he's actually here in town for some administrative things, not for anything basketball related. And he's stopping over there. The Vipers are on their way on a road trip, so he's going to go meet them. So we're going to go grab lunch. He's playing great. He's really happy. And he's just developing at an awesome rate. I would imagine at some point he will be, I mean, he's been on the court with the Rockets already. Like, it's not like, that's not a secret. And I would imagine we'll see that again. But there's not like a firm plan. He needs to do this. He needs to do that. Like, we're really, really happy with his development. And so there's no need to like interrupt that right now. And he's happy. That is one thing. Like, he knows he's improved tremendously. He's really, really enjoying his experience. Like, we're all very much in a good place right now with Daishen, including Daishen.
Ari Alexander.
Hi, Rafael. With the result of the trade, what was it fit related or what was it about DJ and Armoni that kind of had them be the odd men out after the trade?
Mostly it was, a lot of it is just contracts. Like, unfortunately, that's kind of the nature of the game. DJ's expiring and Armoni didn't have, his deal didn't have any money going forward. So from our perspective, it made sense. And we had to, the deal came together really, really at the last second. And so we had to do a 3-for-1. If maybe we had all known we were going to do this trade 2 weeks ago, maybe we could have found a way to incorporate other teams so that we didn't have the same roster spot issues. But those were just the issues we had. And so, we did it. And those two guys weren't in the rotation currently. That is something that, we obviously that matters too. So a combination of contract and rotation, I would say.
Thanks, Rafael.
Mm-hmm.
Saman Ali.
Before I go though, I will say on both those guys, like they're great. DJ's been an awesome vet and a really good locker room presence. He's just he's a Houstonian. DJ's gonna, I imagine, live here for the rest of his life with his family. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to really get to know him. And this is not goodbye. And then Armoni again is I guess he's from Austin, but he's really a Houston kid at this point. And he's a really interesting basketball player. And I think he's got a bright future and he's just a tremendous human being. So, again, my answer should have said that it's a reflection of the contract and the playing time, but not a reflection of the personalities. We're definitely big fans of both those guys.
Rafael, did you receive offers for some of your veterans like Eric Gordon and Christian Wood? At any point, did you ever seriously consider dealing either of them?
I make it a habit not to comment on negotiations that don't happen. I will say though, to the first part of your question, the answer is yes. So I don't want to talk about individual negotiations, but maybe what I will say is yes, we received offers. But we don't feel, we obviously didn't receive an offer that we wanted to do more than we wanted to keep the guys. And I think, I think they're important parts of this team. And I think both guys are, we have with this group of players, we do feel as though we've seen real growth. It's been uneven to say the least. But we do perceive there to have been real growth this year. And we think that this is, that we kind of firmly believe that we're going to see a lot of internal growth, with these guys. And so, so notwithstanding the fact that we received offers, this by no means was this a situation where these guys have multiple years left on their deals, but B, we're not trying to shake things up just to shake things up. And so the mere fact that you get an offer, even if it's a good offer, doesn't mean you necessarily do it. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Kaylee Griffin.
Hey, Rafael. I know you and Steven have answered questions about Schroder, but Bruno Fernando also part of the deal. Is the expectation that he's going to be here as well? And if so, what does he bring to this roster?
So another big guy, and obviously with Daniel going out, we do have, we do have Usman who's recovering from his wrist surgery. And hopefully he'll be back soon, but he does give us depth at that position, and a young, really athletic guy who hasn't, he was a high draft pick and he hasn't really had a full-fledged opportunity in the NBA. So this gives us a chance to get to know him, and him will get a chance to get to know us, and we'll learn more. Seems like a really, really nice guy. All the reports out of Boston where he's a great guy. And so we'll just see, I think is the real answer with him. I don't pretend to know as much about his game as Dennis, but that's largely because he hasn't had the opportunity. And so again, we pride ourselves in doing our homework and, and making sure we explore every avenue. So we do look forward to getting to know him.
Dave Hardesty.
Hey, Rafael, you touched on this from Salman's question about Eric Gordon. So, I know you don't have to go too in depth on it, but it was reported by Jonathan Fagan of the Houston Chronicle last night that the offers weren't good enough, but that they did include a late 2022 first round pick. From outsiders looking in on a young rebuilding team, it would just seem that the first round pick would fit the Rockets and Eric would go to a contender. But obviously you guys have more inside knowledge on that. Can you take us through that thought process? And did Eric want to stay here in Houston?
Yeah, I mean, Eric wants to be here. That's I feel really comfortable talking about that. Yeah, I've known Eric it seems like forever now, right? We've been together for 6 years, I think. And Yeah, and I know Eric really well, and we talk personally, one-on-one frequently. And I've known his agent even longer. And so, yeah, like, Eric made it clear that, and this isn't like a one-time conversation. It's an iteration. And one of the cool things about the growth of this group has been, from the summer, and, we set out a plan, or I set out a plan, to the team, one that I believe in, that Tillman believes in. And we've tried to be transparent with people, with our fans, with the media, with our players, and using Eric as an example, I think, rightfully so, he wanted to understand how he would fit in. And, I think it's great that kind of whatever we are 9 months later, 6 months later, I don't know the exact time frame, that, he feels good about the process, and he feels good about where we're at, and he likes this group of guys, and he enjoys this team, and he wants to be part of what I think he's bought in. I think he sees where we can go, and wants to be a part of it. And I think that's really cool. I think, that's certainly the type of feedback you're hoping to get sitting in our shoes.
Daniel Lerner.
Last season, when he was with the Lakers, Dennis had said that he, at the time, was not vaccinated. Have you had discussions with him about that? I know the rest of your team is. Do you know if he's since gotten the shot?
I actually do not know. We haven't even passed the physical and all that stuff. So I don't know any of those answers for any of the players at this stage in time. We will find that out over the next day or two.
Okay. And then as far as his on-court fit, I know you obviously have a lot of assessing to do when it comes to that, but it seems Steven anticipated that he'd be able to kind of serve as a stabilizer for that second unit. But is there also a chance that while Eric remains out, that he could perhaps, fit in there and see some more minutes with the starting guys?
I mean, that's going to be a determination made by Steven.
We'll take two more. Ben DeBose.
Rafael, after last night's game, Kevin Porter Jr. had some really strong things to say about Eric as not just a player, but as a person, and, the value that he's provided. How much do you take into account that kind of stuff? I'm sure you have conversations with these young guys like KPJ, like Jalen, that you're trying to develop. And if they're telling you that Eric is, important to them, how much do you take that into account when you're sort of balancing the potential forward-facing assets like a draft pick versus keeping Eric around?
Yeah, I mean, we weigh everything, right? You have to, in any deal, in any business, you have to weigh everything. If you don't, you'll do a bad deal. And you can do bad deals just the same way you can do great deals based on hidden information or things that people don't know. People from the outside looking in might, why did they do that? And then it looks like a genius thing years later. Well, the same thing for bad deals. Everybody can say, oh, that's the smart thing to do. And then years later, it turned out it was really, really bad for you. So, we're in a business that is extraordinarily dependent upon human beings. That's the only thing we depend upon. Human beings are unpredictable and fallible and imperfect, myself especially, and very complicated. But because we're in that business, you should never think that, there's just one thing or it's a spreadsheet or anything else. And we don't. We try very, very hard to take everything into consideration. And then we do the best we can. And then we work whatever decision we make, we work really, really hard to make that decision, the right decision for our group. And that's what we do.
Last question, Jackson Gatlin.
Hey, Rafael. We focus a lot on the evaluation and growth of players and of coaching. So I'm curious, what is your own evaluation of yourself as the general manager, and any personal growth that you've kind of experienced in the time that you've spent as the GM?
I don't know. I'm not maybe the most, I don't think about that a lot. I probably think more about what I have to do next a lot. But mostly I'd say incomplete. I mean, I think I feel very, very good and very, very comfortable about where we are. We are trying to build something, that's really cool, and very sustainable, and that will lead to tremendous success as a franchise. And I feel very good that we're doing that, and that have probably accelerated that timeline more than most people would have thought possible, when we started 13 months ago. Having said that, until you've accomplished it, you haven't accomplished it. So that's where I think we are. And I'd say, given that's kind of my focus and my job, when we've accomplished it, I'll say I was successful, assuming we do. And until then, I'll say, it hasn't been good enough yet. Like that, but by no means did we expect it to be done in 13 months. So I'd say we're on course, and I feel really, really good about it. And I do think organizationally, all of us feel good about it, from Tillman on down. Like, we know we knew at the beginning of this what we were in for. And we feel good about about the process and about the pieces we put together. We really like this group. And we need to move forward with it. And everyone at every level, myself included, needs to do a better job on a going forward basis. Like it is about constantly improving internally for us.